Hello.
Hi, you all right?
Yeah, are you?
Got your jumper on, that looks good.
It's only like 20 quid, I think.
Where'd you get that?
eBay.
eBay? Oh, I'm the
Yeah.
only one without one. Chris has got one as well, haven't you?
Yeah, you're letting the side down. Mine's last year, so it's not a new one like that.
No, it looks good. They look good. Right, are we ready to do this?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm a little hungover from last night, but I should be able to do it. Just about.
Is it a good night, though?
Oh, yeah, it was a very good night with the family, but yeah, feeling it now. Yeah. So we're talking about our top 10 moments of Only Fools and Horses, our top 10 Christmas moments of Only Fools and Horses. What's at number 10 for everybody?
Mine's Fatal Extraction. Right. Not my favourite.
No. And what was that moment, Chris? Remind us the moment from Fatal Extraction.
Yeah, to me, Fatal Extraction, which I've got higher up, I think obviously the background of that is Raquel and Del aren't getting on, so Raquel goes to Rodney and Cassandra's house, doesn't she? And Del's in the pub, rings up Raquel, sweet talks around. She's going to come back, I think, the next day, isn't she? Because she's put Damien down. So Del says he's going to change, etc. I'm not going to drink anymore. And puts the phone down and says, "Oh, Mike, bottle of your finest champagne." With that, gets drunk, and he's basically singing one voice singing in the darkness, isn't it? I think it's called One Voice.
Barry Manilow.
Barry Manilow. Causes a riot, doesn't it? The neighbours start falling out, causes a massive riot. So that's set up like that. Next day, he picks Raquel up, and the riot's still going on, isn't it? And he's in the Capri. And I think the funny moment in that is where he does the horn, isn't it? The Dixie horn.
Yeah.
And they part waves, don't they? The crowd, which I think's hilarious. They stop rioting and they part waves. And is it Clint Eastwood? The song you hear in the background.
The Western is sort of like Western music, isn't it? Like a spaghetti Western.
That's it, like, Western. Yeah. And he's driving through slow, isn't he? He's driving through slow, and you see everybody in ski gear because he's flogging ski gear in that episode, isn't he? And he's just tapping one or two on the way. Hey, I've got your video recorder and such. I've got this for you, and I've got your microwave or whatever's ready, you know. And it's really good. I thought that was the best moment in that one.
Even with the police as well. He sold stuff to the police, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. There is Gareth. I don't know if you know Gareth Gwenlyn. I think he was the director. He's actually in one of the riot police in that. He got a bit of a part in that.
Oh, is he? Oh, I didn't realise.
Yeah. But
I think that's a fantastic scene. That's a lot higher up for me as well. My number 10 is Mother Nature's Son, where Miles visits the allotment. I do love this episode, but probably the funniest moment for me in that series, in that episode rather, is where Trigger says it's open 24 hours, but not at night. That's probably my favourite bit in that whole episode, to be honest. But I think it's a very underrated episode, if I'm honest, Mother Nature's Son.
Very famous episode, isn't it? I think when people quote episodes, that one's always mentioned with the Peckham Spring. Very poignant, one of the real ones. We had Hampson's Auctions, was it, Chris? I can't remember. It's Hampson's Auctions that sold one recently.
I think it was, yeah. I didn't see how that went for, but it must have went for a lot.
I think it went for 8,000. I think it was one of very few left of the prop. There's only about 4 in existence, he said now, isn't there?
From the show, yeah.
And it's very detailed, wasn't it? On the back, he said it got all the writing of how it was made, etc.
You still got yours, haven't you, Chris?
Yeah, I've still got mine. It's just in the corner, actually. Can you see it there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I want a light for it, actually. You know, it'll light up yellow at night. I want one of them.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah. But not my favorite. Say not my favorite little clip in that, but my. It's a funny one. Some episodes have a really good little scene in them, and some episodes are really good. Like that one is a good episode, isn't it? But I like it how they set it up. I mean, it's probably the best business deal they ever did, actually, isn't it? Yeah. You know, when you think of all the ones that went wrong, it's the best business deal they did. I liked it when he got Miles out, didn't he, to talk about crop rotation, which was absolute BS, wasn't it? It was, yeah. What did he do? Flip the potato the other way around, or whatever he said. And then he's just, what's that? And he's got a hose pipe running, hasn't he? That it's a Peckham Spring. And Albert does well in that, doesn't he? He says, "Oh, I've been drinking that Peckham Spring all my life, the best water I've ever had."
How old is he? Yeah.
yeah, 98, I think he said, didn't he? He's 98, you know, he's a bit, yeah. But I liked it at the very, very end, the last scene. They're in Brighton, I think, aren't they, in the hotel? And Del and
Grand
Raquel are in
Hotel,
bed.
I think. Yeah.
Sorry?
The Grand
Right.
Hotel, I think. Aren't
Grand
they? Something
Hotel,
like
it
that?
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
famous hotel. And Del and Raquel are in bed, and he says something like, "This time next week, I'll be in all the papers." Turns the light off, and then the bottle of Peckham Spring lights up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a great ending, isn't it? It's probably one of the best.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. Yeah, go on. So, do you want my number 10 then?
Yeah.
This is probably the most Christmassy episode, actually. So I think you know what I'm going to say. Christmas Crackers Series 1. It's probably the most Christmas one of the lot, isn't it? Where you've got them eating Christmas dinner, you've got the watching circus in the afternoon, and one of them Christmas days where you get bored in the afternoon, don't you? You're just fed up. You've had too much to eat and you're fed up. But it's sort of this first time we see how bad Grandad is at cooking, isn't it? That episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Del, if you remember, is cutting the turkey, isn't he, with the electric knife? He says, "We must put a plug on this thing, Rodney." And then they're just sort of talking, and then one line in it, not my favourite line, but Grandad says, "Who's Brenda and Terry?" And they're like, what are you on about? What are you on about? And it's Sean and Shane, isn't it? So they don't know who it is anyway.
Shirley, Sean, and
but the
Shane. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Shirley, Sean, and Shane. The best bit for me of that episode is he's cooked the turkey, but Rodney says it could be Kiss Alive could bring it back to life, couldn't it? But he keeps the giblets in the turkey, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So they realise then they're eating the plastic and all that, and that's probably the best bit for me. And then he talks him round, doesn't he, Del? He says, "Oh, it's all right, Grandad, it's all right. Let's have pudding then." And says, "Do you like your Christmas pudding? Really well done." And that's like, oh God. Yeah, that's my number 10 anyway.
Yeah, brilliant. So we're on to number 9. What'd you go for, Emily?
Mother's Nature's Son.
Yeah.
And not one of my. There's some that episode, but not.
And it's different because we're talking about moments, aren't we?
Moments,
So,
yeah.
as Chris said, overall that's a great episode. But in terms of moments, yeah, there's that at the end scene, like Chris said, you got that moment, and possibly where Trigger says about it's open 24 hours. But
Wait.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, actually, the 24 hours line.
actually,
Yeah,
Emily, go on, say what you were going to say. That's a really good moment, actually.
When they've gone to the is it a recycle centre or something, and then they wave goodbye, and Denzel Trigger's hands.
Yeah, they're all luminous yellow, aren't they? Yeah, that is a really good moment, actually.
Yeah, that's a good moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gun that reminds me of the Gunge as well. He gets just preceding that, he's got Denzel and Trigger to get rid of all the Gunge, hasn't he? The yellow off the allotment.
Some sort of green stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
or yellow
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
rather. Yellow
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, some sort of yellow stuff. And Del, I don't know, Del says, "Oh, it's all right," or something, and Trigger goes, "Right, come on then, Denzel." And Denzel's like, "Well, you know, that's Del Trotter in there. It's not Albert Einstein." I think Trigger says, "I don't know what the Beatles manager's got to do with all this," which is obviously Brian Epstein, isn't it? Not Albert Einstein. Yeah.
Brilliant. He always thought he was right, Trigger, didn't he? Everything he said. That's what made it funnier, really.
He said it deadpan, like you say, didn't he? Yeah. Everyone else was idiots. He was the sensible one. Yeah, in his eyes. Yeah.
My favourite one's the Gandhi one. That gets me every time. You know, where he says like he's been. You only saw him in one film.
Yeah. What made one
Every time I
film?
hear
Yeah.
that, it cracks me
Gandhi. Yeah. Brilliant.
My number 9 was The Frog's Legacy. Albert with the infrared massager in the market. Is this the one where he dances?
Yeah.
It is the one where he dances. Yeah.
I did like that moment. That was very funny. And he just overdid it, didn't he? He really overdid it.
Yeah, oversold it. Yeah, this is the one where we first get introduced to Frederick Robdell, don't we? Which is poignant. It links to the very last episode, Sleepless in Peckham, where we do find out it's Rodney's dad, don't we? So yeah, Joan, played by Joan Sims, isn't it? Aunt Reedy from the Carry On film. She says to Del about, you know, Freddie Robdon had left all his possessions to your mum, including the lost gold. So they're on the search for the gold, aren't they, in that episode? But like you say, yeah, he's in the market. It's the infrared penetration massage, and he's saying, "Oh, just stay still here, sir." You know, Del can you feel a warmth soothing through your body? And he's like, "Oh, it's very therapeutic." And like you say, then he does a little jig, and they're like, the crowd like, "Well, they know each other. That's a stooge, part of the act." And Del's like to Albert, we don't know each other, do we, sir? And Albert says, "No, Del, we don't." And obviously with that, you know, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, of course." But I love the bit just after that. That's my favourite bit, the market bit. But just after that, you've got Del bumps into Trigger. They've just been the wedding, haven't they? Lisa and Andy's wedding, and they say it's a good do. And he'd swapped. Yeah, do you remember that, Emily? What happened? He swaps the cutlery, doesn't he?
And he's slagging Boise off for giving him a.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. He said, "Did you see the crappy present he bought because he swapped them round?" And Del says he's tight, isn't he? And Trigger says, "Yeah, he is tight." And he says, Del says, he's the sort of guy who has baked beans on Tuesday so he can have a bull bath on Wednesday, which I thought was a great gag, wasn't it? And then he comes out the car, Boise, doesn't he? Sorry?
I was going to say what you might be coming to, actually. What's that really funny line that Boise says in that episode? I think you were about to say it, actually.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on.
No, I can't remember it. I was thinking you was going to say it.
But he comes out the car all like smug as well, doesn't he? Another fine day in Gotham City. And then Boise says, "Well, what did Andy and Lisa think of my present then?" Thinking Trigger will say, "Oh, brilliant." Trigger goes, they looked at it, didn't think much of it. And what about his little gift? Pointing at Del, he says, "Oh, he put his straight in the cabinet." And Boise's like, "Peasants" or something. You know, obviously not unaware that they've swapped the things over. And like you say, the hearse comes up and with Rodney, doesn't it?
This is it, yeah.
He works for the So Boise says, "Your minicab's arrived, Albert." The minicab's arrived, and that was a line that Ray Buttard heard in a pub, and then it ended up being in the show just later, which is true of a lot of scenes, isn't it? Like A Touch of Glass, the chandelier was a true story of John Sullivan's dad that happened to him, didn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of based on a true story, and then it gets exaggerated, and a bit like stories, really. I mean, they always get exaggerated.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think, are we on to number 8 now? Or
has everybody given that? My number 9 was Fatal Extraction. If I said my number 9, and then my number 8 was actually Frog's Legacy myself. So we're sort of agreeing there, aren't we? Yeah, all of us. I think.
So we've covered on that. And interestingly, Thicker Than Water is one of my favourite episodes, but that's my number 8, actually, that moment that we're going to be talking about. I love that line. I mean, that's the most Christmassy line in it, in Only Fools and Horses. I think some people get wise men bearing gifts, but we get a Wally with a disease. It's brilliant, isn't it? Like the way Reggie comes to stay with them in the flat, and you really get a sense of what he's like, don't you? He's the opposite of Del Boy, really. And I like that moment, and I love that episode, but because there's so many funny moments, these 10 moments, that's just where it ended up, really. But
that's it. It's stiff competition, isn't it? Yeah, I think Reg Schrotter visually is like Del, isn't he? He smokes cigars, he wears the jewelry, and he wears his sheepskin coat. But that line's hilarious. So he's come back, hasn't he? Basically, because he wants to kick Del out of the house. Really, that's his big motivation, isn't it? So he comes up with this rare blood disease, doesn't he?
A hereditary blood disorder,
a hereditary blood disorder, and that makes me laugh when Grandad says, "Well, I have to have Tess," and Rodney says, "No, it's pass forward, not back." And then Del says, "You're most probably the carrier," which is quite funny. That but I love the line. I don't know why, it always tickles me. Obviously, by now Reg has got Del out of the family a little bit to a point, hasn't he? Del feels a bit out of it, so they're in the pub. And they're doing cards, aren't they? So I always love where he goes. He deals the cards out, Reg does. So he'll go, Rodney, Dad, Kemosabe, as a reference to the Lone Ranger. I always love that line. I think it's hilarious, that.
He's also.
What was that, Emily? Repeat that. It broke up a bit.
My number 8's Frog's Legacy.
Yeah. So that was with Uncle Albert, wasn't it? Yeah. So you got that slightly higher.
Yeah,
You like
interesting.
that?
My number 7's thicker than water, actually. So mine, again, we're agreeing here a little bit, aren't we? Mine, the number 7's thicker than water.
I would be surprised if our top two aren't the same. I mean, I think they'll be the same pretty much.
One's going to be the same for all three of us.
We'll see. We'll see. You never know. You never know.
Well, I don't know. I definitely think the top two will be the same, but in which order we'll have to see. Yeah. So we're on to number 7 now.
Yeah,
Has
I've said
everybody
mine's thicker than water. Number
Okay.
7 for me.
Yeah. And Emily, yours number 7 was Frog's Legacy.
No, number 8's Frog's Legacy. Number 7's Dates.
Dates. Oh, Raquel, the strippogram. Great
do like-
scene, isn't it? Repeat what you said, Emily. Sorry, it broke up again.
That one, but it's hard to choose, like, in which.
Yeah. And it's such a classic scene, isn't it? I mean,
It's
There's a lot of
Dell's,
classic scenes, isn't there, in that one?
yeah. Go on, Emily. Sorry, you broke up again.
it's Dell's face when he realizes it's Raquel. That makes me laugh.
Hmm.
Yeah. Raquel. Yeah. I can't do the face, but it's like that, isn't it? Yeah.
I think that the best thing about that, like you say, Emily, it's Dell's face. But when Boise says, "Is this the?" I'm sorry, I'm trying to do Boise impression. I can't do it, but is this the actress you've been telling us all about, Del Boy? And everybody, the pub erupts with laughter, doesn't it? Then.
And then you hear Boise's laugh. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I love it outside in the car park as well. Raquel says a couple of good lines. He's sitting in the van, isn't he, by this point? And I've just found out your name is Derek Trotter, not Derek Duval. And then she points at the van and goes, "And I suppose this is the Ferrari."
Yeah.
So Dell's rattled with that, and he gets out the car and he says, "Well, I might tell a few porkies, but one thing I don't do is wear stockings and suspender belts and flash me frockney bits at people." And he goes, "Do a Rodney?" And Rodney's like, "No, he's never done anything like that." And that's quite good as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that one could have, to me, 4 or 5 moments. I mean, it's brilliant. When they meet at the Waterloo station, isn't it? Brief Encounter, my favourite film. It's a bit like Brief Encounters, my favourite film. Oh, I love it when the spaceship comes down. She's like, "No, that's Close Encounters." And obviously Nervous and Rodney.
Yeah, the chase in the van. Yeah,
Yeah,
that as well.
yeah.
But we're just choosing certain moments, aren't
Yeah.
we? So
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, that's a lot higher for me. A lot higher.
Yeah, and not a lot higher for me, but higher, yeah, higher for me as well.
My number 7 is the Christmas crackers, giblets in the turkey. That's my number 7. Yeah. I watched that yesterday, actually, that episode. It's a really good episode, and it is the most Christmassy episode, I think.
Yeah.
It got to be, hasn't it?
I did a quiz last night. That was fun, and I didn't notice this when I was watching. But do you know the colour of the Christmas tree? What's the colour of the Christmas tree in that episode? I got it wrong when I was doing the quiz.
I'd guess silver.
You're right, Chris. Yeah,
Oh.
well, you know your stuff.
I'll tell you what, I would have said green, but with you saying that, I thought, well,
Gave
I
you a little
didn't know it.
clue.
I'll be honest, I didn't know it.
I thought it was
silver.
white, but that was another
Ah.
episode. I think
Okay.
that might have been Fatal Extraction.
Yeah, they don't have it. We're talking Christmas episodes, but not every episode is themed around Christmas. I bet they only did 4 or 5 episodes that were themed around Christmas, didn't they? Really? You know.
Of course, with
so-
Fatal Extraction, you've got the carol singers at the end, haven't you? So that's quite Christmassy around the
Yeah.
big tree. It's outside the flat, isn't it? I think.
It is, and the twist is that Beverly's at the end, isn't she? She's at the end of the line, isn't she? The one that he'd been sort of going to go on a date with.
Creepy woman.
Everywhere.
What's that, Emily?
Everywhere, weren't she?
Yeah.
Corner.
Yeah, it was a bit freaky with her. You didn't know if she was following him or was she? Or what do you think, Emily?
Yeah, I think she was.
You're stalking him a bit, yeah.
And the answer phone, they'd swapped the answer phone for it was a baby cot, I think, wasn't it? I think they swapped the answer phone for a baby cot, I think it was, wasn't it? And at the end, it plays Del Boy's voicemail, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's when they start rowing, isn't it? And that's when Beverly's outside. You know, it's done its job, hasn't it? Then she knows she's got them falling out.
Funny. So who's next then with their number 7, or have we given them all? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think I'm on 6. I've done Mother Nature's Son as 6, so I know we've covered that. In fact, I'll say number 6 is Mother Nature's Son and number 5 is Dates. So we've covered those two, haven't we, in terms of had a chat about. What about you guys, 6 and 5?
My number 6 is Christmas Crackers. My number is Thicker Than Water.
So Thicker Than Water's a lot higher then for you. Yeah, it's a great episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's interesting then. Me doing a quick observation there, we've got the top 4 are all the same, aren't they? I'm not saying in the order, but the 4 left.
Well, unless I
are the
spoil
top
it
4, I
now.
think. What the number 4 then?
Well, I've got to do number 6.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
I think I didn't speak about that. Fatal Extraction was
Okay.
my number 6, the riot scene. But I actually find Del singing one voice funnier than the riot scene for some reason. It always just
Yeah.
cracks me up when he comes home drunk, and you could imagine yourself doing that, really. And of course, you've got people in the flats, haven't you? And they start to join in. They start joining in singing, and then they have a fight outside, don't they? And that's what starts the riot.
I think obviously Rodney and Albert obviously get up from that, and then Del gets up later and says, "What's the rowing about?" And Rodney's like, "What do you mean? You've caused all that or something?" I think Rodney
Del's
says,
singing. Why is he singing?
I think he says Kate Adie's out there as well, doesn't he? The news reporter.
Oh yeah, it's such a great episode. I mean, I love that scene. Both of those scenes they're up there for me. But yeah, number 6 for me. And were we doing 5 now? Did you give
5? Yeah.
Time in Our Hands? So have I spoilt it? Maybe, possibly.
That is an absolute shocker. That I'm not happy now. So you better explain yourself.
Well, it's just so hard. We're doing moments, aren't we?
Yeah.
This is the thing. Yeah, the fainting scene at Sotheby's, of course, when they finally become millionaires. Of course, Del faints first of all, doesn't he? I'm correct in saying, and then Rodney faints.
He does. Record 24.3 million. Never been beaten now.
But it's my favourite episode, so there you go. So as we're doing moments,
moments. No, you're quite correct. Interestingly, I've got an episode in a minute that I'm not as keen on, which is quite high. Yeah. So it's true that.
Yeah.
So you remember what the watch was? What was the watch? Who was the watch by?
The Lesser Watch, the George Harrison H6. Yeah, I know about the watch.
You've got the name wrong though. Wasn't George Harrison in the Beatles?
Yes, he was. Yeah. Also, I had a few sherbets last night.
Well, here's a clue for you. Del always calls a bloke by this name, doesn't he? If he doesn't know him, what does Del always call him when he? Hey, what does he call him? Always calls him John, doesn't he? John. John. John Harrison, yeah.
It's John Harrison, yeah, not George Harrison.
But yeah, I love the fainting in that episode. I love the van out when they're in the van outside. Not bad. How much did we get? 6.2 million. We've had worse days, Rodney. And then you see the van rocking, don't you, side to side.
I probably prefer that moment than the bit at Sotheby's, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I prefer the bit in the van because I could imagine you saying that to someone you knew, like a family member or a friend, and doing that. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? But
difficult moments in that one, Chris, though, isn't it? Because you could have the one where they're in the pub as well, couldn't you? Of course, the standing ovation.
Oh yeah, because I mean, that's brilliant. I love that end scene. That always cracks me. It doesn't crack me up. It always touches me. Emily, you like the bit where Rodney buys Del the Ferrari, don't you?
Yeah, it makes me cry every time I watch it.
Rolls Royce.
Yeah, I'm getting everything wrong today.
And that's when it links to the pub, isn't it? Where he goes, "No, I'll get the sandwiches, Rodney, because you got the rolls."
That's it. Yeah, brilliant.
I always say Mike's very emotional in that as well, isn't he?
Yes.
He's quite cut up, and I think he says, doesn't he? Orders the drinks, and he says, "No need to pay." And And then and Del says, "Well, what on the slate, Mike?" He says, "No, on the house,
On the
Del." And
house.
you see when he
Yeah.
says that, he's proper, isn't he?
And I think everybody was emotional about it, weren't they? Because you could see, like you've said before, we think that the applause looked very genuine, didn't it? It didn't even look planned, but it might have been. But yeah,
They think that's it, then, don't they? They think the show's finished, don't they? They're not aware it's going to come back, are they? At that stage.
Okay.
That's sorry. Just on that point, that's another argument for us all. Again, should it have come back? That's another good podcast.
That's another podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've got to speed things up because I think have we all got to go after this because there's only 8 minutes left on here. It's not that long. But okay, so on to number 4. Emily, what did you select? Repeat yourself. Sorry, I couldn't hear. Try again. Breaking up.
Rodney come home.
Rodney comes home. Yeah. This is with Uncle Albert, isn't it?
It is one of my favourite scenes because it looks like David Jason's trying not to laugh. It looks like he's biting his lips not to laugh, which makes it even more funnier.
Yeah, it's so good, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got that as number 4. That's the 1990 Christmas special. This is the one, isn't one of my favourite episodes, if I'm honest. If out of the 64 episodes, I'd probably put it in the bottom 10 of mine, if not bottom 5. I didn't think it was a great episode. But like you say, Del's pre-warning him, isn't he? Hey, Rodney's taking a bird out called Tanya. We've got to look really shocked. But he keeps getting it wrong, doesn't he? So he'll say, "You're going out, Rodney?" And Rodney goes, "Yeah." But he's saying it wrong all the time. And then when it comes to Rodney saying, "I'm taking a girl out," Del and Raquel are like, "A girl? And Albert's away with the fairies then. So he has to smack him. Like Emily correctly says, that's when Del boy, David Jason, he cracks up, doesn't he? You can see it on his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably Albert's finest moment, actually, I think. Or funniest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
My number 4 was Heroes and Villains, Batman and Robin. Love that moment, of course, where they're running through the alleyway and they get stranded. They have to get to the party, don't they? And of course, but again, with that moment, I love that moment, but I probably find it even funnier when they burst in on the wake. I find it even funnier. It just always makes me laugh. It's a brilliant moment, isn't it? And again, with Boise, he always has a bit at the end, doesn't he? Because he says about being the Joker. When Del says to him, "You've come dressed as the Penguin," and he says, "No, Del boy, not the Penguin, the Joker." Yeah.
And they burst into the funeral, and then
that's my number 4.
I think one of them says, "Harry died yesterday." I think Boise says it, doesn't he? "Harry, down boy, Harry died yesterday." And when he says Harry died, he sprays that, whatever you call it, doesn't he? Sprays that thing right in the widow's face as well, doesn't he? Harry died. But I mean, I know we're talking about that moment. Obviously, that's the one with 17 new handles and 14. 17 new heads, 14 new handles, isn't it? With the broom. Look after your broom.
Oh, if that was on our list, that would probably be my number 1.
Yeah, yeah. So that one's got a few, really, hasn't it? I mean, Tonto as well. Did you want to won?
We could easily do our top 10 trigger moments, couldn't we? Easily.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, definitely.
What was your number? What number are we on now? 4.
Number 3. Number 3 is Jolly Boys Out in the coach exploding.
I thought that'd be your number 1. You surprised me.
It'd be I probably stuck to the rules a little bit. It's definitely my number. It's quite interesting that because you said about Time Around's been your favourite episode. It's my favourite episode, Jolly Boys Out, in which I've mentioned before, just a few times. But yeah, the episode's brilliant from start to finish. So many great moments in it. Really, the Bic, isn't it? The Trivial Pursuit when he says about the Bic, female swan called. Then Rodney gets arrested, doesn't he? Rude gullet nowhere. So that leads up to the coach, doesn't it? Rodney's on the phone to Cassandra, saying, "Well, I don't think it's fair that everything Del touches goes wrong." And with that, we see the coach explode, don't we? They're all off the coach at this stage. It's that Mustafa radio as well, isn't it? From the beginning, where he's on the radio. We see the smoke on the coach earlier. Coach explodes. They're all watching it, and Del's funny. He just puts his arm around Harry and goes, "Don't worry, Harry. I won't tell you, Governor."
Yeah.
As if the governor's not going to notice the coach. that's
Oh.
exploded.
To smithereens. What was your number 3, Emily?
Same as
The same one. Yeah. But that was my number 2. So very close.
close.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the best moments. Definitely. It's definitely, if we did the best moments ever, it would be in the top 5 for me. That one, because as you say, Rodney's on the phone and he's saying that, you know, it's unfair to say that about Del, and then the comic timing of it, and then you've got that bit at the end, as you said, with the coach driver, and yeah, it's one of the best episodes, isn't it? Yeah, so that's my number 2. Sorry, we're having to speed things up now.
Yeah, no problem.
Is everybody on number 1 or?
I had number 2 as Heroes and Villains. Number
Okay.
2, again, we've mentioned that, haven't we? Yeah, brilliant episode from start to finish. But yeah, that was my number 2, Heroes and Villains, 1996 Christmas special, wasn't it? The first one of 3, the trilogy.
Yeah, brilliant. Emily, your number 2?
Same as Chris's again, Heroes and Villains.
Oh wow! So, that's interesting. I don't know. I think I've got a different number 1, and you might have the same. So, yeah, let's go with yours first then.
Time on Our Hands.
Time on Our Hands. Yeah, number 1. And for you, Chris?
Time in our hands.
Yeah, mine was actually Dates, Raquel the Strippogram, just as in a moment, a funny comedy moment. That's what I was thinking. You've gone for the more emotional moment, obviously. But yeah, speak about Time on Our Hands, both of you, for the next 2 minutes.
I think the little bit we didn't mention on Time in Our Hands was, as well, I love the bit where Rodney goes into the car showroom at Boyce's and says, that Rolls Royce out there, I want to buy it. And Boyce says, that's a good one, Rodney. What drugs are you on this week? So then he gives them the check, doesn't he? And he's like, and he's laughing, isn't he, Boyce? Can't quite believe it. I think that's really funny. Like we said, the auction, them fainting, that was fantastic as well. So, and then the emotional bit in the pub, of course. What about you, Emily?
But they struggled so much, and they deserved to have that happy ending, and everyone was like emotional for them because everyone knows how much they struggled. Yeah, I don't know, emotional.
That was quite good. When it's Raquel's, he's horologist, I think the word is a horologist. So he noticed the John Harrison watch and he's like, good God, I'm shaking. I've never been so excited all my life. And Del says, oh, you must have had a blinding honeymoon then.
Wasn't her dad that found it?
Raquel's dad, yeah. And that's the lovely twist that they've had it all since 1981, haven't they? They've had it all that time. They've been millionaires all that time.
That was the beauty of it, yeah.
Yeah. And a real watch, of course, as well, that still hasn't been found, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd love to find it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's every only
diver's watch, isn't it? Is it something to do with diving or something? I think the watch was for.
It's diving, but it's to do with ships.
Yeah,
finding their position or something.
Underwater, like submarines or something. Yeah.
Well, that was great. So I think Time on Our Hands, probably number 1. Yeah, I can agree with that, to be fair. Have a very Merry Christmas, everyone.
Have a Merry Christmas, yeah, and a Happy New Year.
I think that's it. Thanks, Emily.
Nice, thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Chris.
See you next time. Thanks.
See you next time. Good to see you both. Take care.
You too.
Au revoir.
History. Book history.